Thank you. Thank you, Chair. Good morning to you all. To start with, I wish to recall the hearing we had last week here in Econ, from which I believe it is possible to draw some preliminary conclusions. Firstly, I think it is fair to say that there was a broad majority of views in favour of the Commission's proposal to harmonise the creditors' hierarchy by creating a new class of senior non-preferred debt, with several stakeholders clearly asking for a swift and timely adoption of this part of the legislative package. And in fact, it is understandable. We need to provide clarity, predictability, and above all, legal certainty to the market. Banks need to know as soon as possible what their shortfall is in terms of TLAC and morale, and what kind of liabilities may be used in order to comply with European and international standards. We've also heard from the regulators that this new class of debt does not compromise the principle that all liabilities are bail-inable. It really only intends to facilitate and not to limit the effectiveness of the bail-in tool, which may, I believe, appease the fears of some members of this committee. As such, and as already agreed, our coordinators should revisit the question and consider to give the green light to a fast-track procedure, also on the harmonisation of creditor hierarchy, as requested by the Commission and apparently supported by the Council. This looks to be the most urgent issue to be decided. Secondly, as Peter Simon already did, I would underline that all the participants in the hearing, both from the regulator side and from the stakeholder side, agreed on the importance of proportionality. And indeed, I believe there is room to insert a lot more proportionality into this package. Let me be clear, however, in saying that proportionality is not just about easing the gathering of data and the disclosure of information. It is not just about the frequency or even the granularity of reporting obligations. All of this is important, of course, but there is a lot more we can do in order to achieve a truly proportional regime, particularly in what concerns the resolution framework. On the one hand, we have to take into account that European banks are very different in size. Therefore, it would seem irrational to place all banks, regardless of their size and their systemic impact, under the same type of morale requirements. And on the other hand, we have to take into account that European banks are very different in nature and act in the market according to diverse business models. Also related to proportionality, I believe it is wise to adopt an incremental approach towards morale without undermining the principle of bail-in. We must be aware that several legacy problems still remain in the banking sector and that European banks have had to cope with many new and ever more stringent requirements in the past few years. So we must be careful when introducing a new layer of requirements. And I will conclude saying that also the issue of NPLs, although and only indirectly related with this package, has to be addressed. This was mentioned during the hearing, and we have to come back to that. This is of utmost importance and urgency, taking into account also the goals we want to achieve. Thank you very much, Chairman.
Thank